Bonjour à tous, donc là nous on est arrivés à Londres pour aller interviewer les céramistes au Céramique Art London. Avant de rentrer on fait une petite pause et on va profiter du breakfast anglais. On se prend quelques forces et on va partir découvrir ce qui nous attend juste après. On est enfin arrivé au Céramique Art London comme vous pouvez voir derrière. Donc là on va rentrer, le but c'est d'aller interviewer pas mal de céramistes. Je vais essayer de parler anglais, c'est pas gagné, on va voir ce que ça donne. Allez, à tout de suite. On va commencer à aller sur le marché, il y a énormément de stands et vachement de choix. Rien que là, je sais pas si vous voyez, le décor autour du stand, toutes les céramiques qui sont dessinées, c'est original et c'est super beau. Je trouve que c'est un salon avec des céramistes hyper qualifiés. Il y a plein de styles variés. Les céramistes sont sympas. Voilà, ils sont contents de nous voir, donc ça c'est chouette.
Hi, I'm Claudette Forbes and I live here in London, in England.
Why did you choose clay and not other medium to express your creativity?
I was originally going to do music, so I'm from a musical family, but one day somebody said, oh, there's a guy up the road, he teaches pottery in his house. And I went and I touched the clay and music fell away, and I just do ceramics.
So I started off as a photographer, and it was when I was working as an art teacher I was asked to work with clay. No one else knew how to do it, so I started using it and I just fell in love with it. It's such a versatile material to work with that you really can do anything with it. So yeah, I love how playful it is, and I don't think there's other materials that you can do that with. And there's something about the longevity of clay as well, unlike other art materials, unlike painting or drawing. Ceramics has got this permanence, so there's something kind of charming about the idea of it being kind of dug up in thousands of years' time and people thinking, what the hell is this? It's kind of, yeah.
Well, I used to be an architect actually, and just started working with clay gradually, and then decided to give architecture up because clay is just, fantastic medium to work in. So yeah, that's it really. Once I touched it, that was it.
I was given some clay when I was 8 years old, and I was absolutely fascinated by the material. I didn't really know what it was, but I have never wanted to do anything else since.
Can ceramics save the world?
No, I think there's a quote in my website, and I often say it, and I don't particularly like quotes, but I always say that I don't believe that art can save the world, but it can help us to understand and look the world with a different eye. Change the world? I don't think so.
Yes. I don't know in what form, but I think it would definitely help.
I think like a lot of creative outlets, I think you can say a lot. I mean, my work is quite political, so you can see I've done drawings of Ronald McDonald, and that's saying something about the environment and the impact on the environment of human beings' obsession with eating beef. So yeah, ceramics, in my own little way, I'm trying to make a little change.
I don't know about ceramics, but I think clay, in the digital world we live in and the way that the world is moving in terms of it becoming so divisive, I think getting lost in a material like clay, which is a very humbling material, has got to be good for the planet. I think if we can figure out ways of making it ecologically friendly in terms of firing and energy use and raw materials use, I think then that would be a good thing for the discipline. But ultimately I think there's, you walk around a show like this and most potters are nice, humble, friendly people, we're all fighting the same fight. So I think, you know, the world would be a better place if everybody was involved in ceramics.
Has the ability to kind of change minds and change the world, and I think as an artist you can kind of, yeah, you can communicate all sorts of things. I'm particularly interested in ideas of utopia and processes of achieving kind of utopia and making work that acts as a catalyst for people to think differently about the world. So I think, yeah.
Maybe from that digital world that's going on the side.
What image comes to your mind when you think French ceramics?
Sèvres, Limoges porcelain, beautiful Provençal, Le Bourne, wood-fired ceramic. Oh, just so much, so much. I love French ceramics.
Probably work from Le Bon. Is it Le Bon? Le Bourne? Le Bourne. Yeah. I mean, there's some really, really good potters who work in down there. So yeah, that's what comes to my mind.
Sophisticated, fine work.
I would probably think kind of there's an ornateness. I think being in Paris in January, there's a kind of sophistication and ornateness to kind of French art that kind of, yeah, that's probably what resonates for me. Yeah.
Annie Fourmanoir. She was a really wonderful French ceramicist who worked in really fine porcelain. I think of her when you say French.
Now it's quick questions, okay? Do you prefer clay with little rocks or porcelain?
I'm really into porcelain at the moment.
Electric wheel or hand building?
I've only ever thrown on an electric wheel.
Do you call yourself potter, ceramicist or artist?
Ceramicist, sometimes artist. Ceramicist mostly.
Glaze or slip?
Oh man, slip.
Podcast or music when you work?
Podcast.
Online sales or market stall?
Online.
Fast or slow?
Fast, hopefully. I need to speed up because it's knackering. Porcelain.
Electric wheel or hand building?
Hand building.
Do you call yourself potter, ceramicist or artist?
All three. All of them. Yeah.
Glaze or slip?
Slip.
Podcast or music when you work?
Podcasts about music.
Online sales or market stall?
For me, it's been online sales, but I love a market stall because it's so good to meet people.
And to finish, fast or slow?
Slow.
Do you prefer clay with little rocks or porcelain?
Porcelain.
Do you prefer the electric wheel or hand building?
Electric wheel.
Do you call yourself potter, ceramist or artist?
Depends who I'm talking to. I would call myself a potter, but when I think of potter, I think more, production, throwing mugs. I guess I'm more a ceramicist. Yeah, I don't know.
Are you glaze or sleep?
Sleep.
Podcast or music when you work?
Music.
Online sales or market stall?
A bit of both. I like a bit of both. I do online sales because I can ship it all over the world. But I like to meet people. I like to meet the customer and know where the pot is going and to have that conversation with them. Yeah.
Okay. And to finish, fast or slow?
In what terms? Fast.
Do you prefer clay with little works or porcelain?
It depends on the kind of work. I think the material is very important depending on what you want to do. Very often I choose the material because I want to link it to the history and the tradition. Like I made a collection which was, it had a lot of reference to China, so I had to make it in porcelain because that's where China porcelain comes from. It comes from China. But right now I'm working on a new collection which is based on China, Africa. So I'm going to be using a lot of stoneware, a lot of black clay. Not because it's the black continent, it's just because it's a clay which is it's kind of more kind of raw and more earthy, and I will be using a lot of stoneware. So I don't prefer either. It depends on the work I do. I use this clay that is suitable for the work.
Okay. Electric wheel or hand building?
Hand building.
Do you call yourself potter, ceramicist or artist?
I always wanted to say that I consider myself an artist, but recently I also said, I had a talk today and I said that when I work on my pots I feel like an artist, I feel like a craftsman. No, I feel like an artist, but sorry. When I work on my bottles I feel like an artist, and when I work in my sculptures I feel like a craftsman. So I think both are good.
Glaze or slip?
What do you mean by sleep? Again, it depends on it depends on the work. Clay, raw clay is stunning. It depends how you use it. Some pieces, they don't need the glaze. I have seen ceramicists using, glazing work, which is stunning. And when they glaze it, it's like you lost it. It doesn't need it, but sometimes it needs it. I think it depends.
Okay. Podcast or music when you work?
Both.
Online sales or market stall?
Neither. I want a gallery who takes care of it and I don't have to worry about it. I want to stay in my studio and not have to deal with it.
Fast or slow?
Fast or slow? In terms of work? Both.
You are a ceramist and you also are in the Great Pottery Showdown.
Indeed, yes.
Yes, can you speak us about your story, how you are a ceramist and how you arrived in this emission?
Yeah, I think, the thing I've always been passionate about is the material, ceramics, the clay. And I think, that's how it all started for me, really. As a student, at school, I was lucky enough to touch clay, and really I've just sort of, my passion and my enthusiasm has only grown, really. And I've been lucky enough to have lots of opportunities along the way. And the yes to all button has been firmly pushed down. So, I've sort of been lucky enough to have lots of different experiences, but all associated with clay. So I guess my practice, is, I do shows, I make my own work. I work on the Great Pottery Throwdown. I started in a technical role, and I was lucky enough to be kind of promoted to one of the judges 5 years ago now. And my wife and I run a ceramics festival as well. But yeah, I just, everything that I do in my life revolves around ceramics, both in my day-to-day. I eat off clay plates, I drink from clay mugs, I live in a clay house, and I make very much make my living from clay. So, I just feel lucky to be part of such a lovely community. And you come to a show like this and you meet all of the makers and see how they approach their work, and you see creativity oozing from their stands, and it's just an inspiring and fortunate position to be in, really.
And how do you arrive to share your time between ceramist and TV?
It's always a constant struggle, you know. I feel like with the show we film kind of midsummer to mid-autumn, so everything else in life gets crammed into the spring and during the winter, and the years just seem to flash by quicker and quicker. But you know, I think I very much I just want to be in contact with clay. I want to be working and making. So generally speaking, the show, you know, that's a block of time, 3 months, and I kind of commit to that. And then outside of that, I'm just in the studio and I'm making whenever I can. But yeah, there's lots of wrapping things up and keeping them damp enough to keep working on, because I'm not in the studio for 2 weeks. And then it's a juggle, like life is for everybody, really, whatever you do, you know.
And why don't you do the Great Pottery Throwdown in France?
That would definitely be a question for the production team. Fortunately, I don't get involved with any of the kind of selling of the show and how it works and where it's shot and where it's filmed. But I'm surprised that more countries haven't adopted it as a format, because I just think, you know, so many people love clay and love ceramics, and I think it would work well wherever it was filmed. So you never know. Watch this space. They may well, you know, start to do it at some point. Yeah.
How do you have this idea to put maps on ceramics?
Well, I trained as a cartographer, so I drew maps for the first 10 years of my working life. And then I went to Central St Martin's and did a ceramics degree. And while I was there, I was putting texture on a piece of clay, and I flipped the clay over, and it looked like the African continent. And I had this eureka moment about making representations of the planet from the surface of the planet.
What clay do you use to?
So I mainly work with porcelain, and I use a variety of techniques depending on the concept of the piece. So I start with the concept, and then I work out which is the best way to reach that end result. So a lot of the time I hand build with clay, and I use press molds. For example, the plates behind you, I make a press mold and then press the porcelain onto that. Sometimes I use slip casting, but with all of my work, it involves a lot of drawing on paper beforehand and a lot of model making before I make the final piece.
Donc là, on va se faire un petit défi. Chacune de nous quatre, parce qu'on ne voit pas Lisa, mais qui est derrière la caméra, va choisir sa pièce préférée du salon. Alors je sais que ça va être hyper difficile parce qu'il y a énormément de choix, énormément de pièces, mais vous allez voir le choix de chacune.
Je pense pas que ce soit une pièce, mais plus l'ensemble de comment elle a exposé. Maintenant, on va voir ma pièce. Donc, maman, une des pièces que tu as adorées?
Ok. Il y avait tellement de pièces super jolies dans ce salon que c'est vraiment compliqué de choisir. Là, je vais choisir une pièce d'une céramiste que j'ai pas interviewée et qui n'a pas encore été mise en avant. Donc, c'est cette pièce, c'est cette jarre, c'est ce vase que voilà, je trouve super joli, autant au niveau de la forme que du décor assez simple et des textures que la céramiste a réalisées.
Donc, c'est à mon tour, je vais vous montrer ma pièce favorite dans le salon. Vous me suivez?
Oui.
Mes pièces favorites, elles sont de Claudette Forbes. Donc, vous pouvez voir les différents modèles. Et vraiment ma pièce favorite, je crois que c'est la vache, the cow.
Why you come here at Ceramic Art London?
Because we're very, very interested in ceramics and a keen collector. That is why.
And you?
Same thing.
You do ceramics too, or no?
No. Just a consumer.
I'm a devoted follower, and I really like this stuff. And we collect. Thank you.
Allez, on revient où tout a commencé. La journée est terminée. On a clôturé notre visite au Ceramic Art London. On a vu d'énormes merveilles, plein de super pièces dans des styles différents. Autant ça allait dans des styles très très colorés ou vraiment de la terre brute. Quel style peut s'en dégager, c'est difficile à dire. Il y a vraiment un panel, comme en France, de céramique qui est assez éclectique. On peut dire que ce salon a un niveau d'exigence au niveau des céramistes qui sont exposés assez important. Donc je vous invite à aller découvrir par vous-même quand vous pourrez venir à Londres et vous ne serez pas déçus.